Fire on board a cruise ship, is one of the scariest and most dangerous situations you can have. And while not something that happens every day, I've actually have 2 cruise ship fires that happened, one right after the other, and one of them actually started in a passenger cabin. So let's get into some cruise news. Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to today's video. All right, so we're going to start with Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas, which is still currently under construction, but this past Thursday, about 10 a.m. in the morning, a fire broke out in one of the stairwells on board the ship. All 2,500 workers that were working on the ship, they were evacuated in an abundance of caution. The shipyard's fire brigade was able to come on very quickly, extinguish the fire, and all the workers were back working about an hour later. Now, the cause of the fire has not yet been determined. It is still under investigation. And fires on cruise ships that are under construction, they can be a little more common. They don't happen every single time, but they are definitely more common than cruise ships that are, say, sailing out at sea with passengers. You have a lot of activities, construction activities on board the ship that can generate a lot of heat, such as welding, and occasionally they will ignite, combustible material, flammable material that is in the area, which is most likely what caused this particular fire. But like I said, it is still under investigation. Now, there was only minor damage to the ship, no injuries to any of the workers on board the ship. Like I said, it was very quickly extinguished and should have minimal to almost no disruption to Icon of the Seas construction. Now, what I think is a much scarier situation is a fire that occurred on a Viking cruise ship yesterday, and it started in one of the passenger cabins. So around 8 a.m. yesterday, a fire broke out in one of the passenger cabins located on deck 5 on the Viking Orion, which was docked in Sydney, Australia at the time. Now, the important thing here is the fire was extinguished very quickly. There were no injuries reported from the fire. The passengers, I guess, that were in the cabin, they were evaluated by the paramedics. They were not taken to the hospital. They remained on board the ship. So no passenger or crew injuries. Now, decks 5 and 6, the deck right above where the fire was, both of those decks were fully evacuated. Okay, and the remainder of the ship was able to continue its normal operations, and no effects, no changes to their current ship's itinerary is expected. The fire was all contained within that one cabin. They went in with thermal imaging systems, verified that the fire was out, hadn't spread anywhere else, or affected any of the surrounding areas on the ship. We can confirm that a small fire occurred in a guest stateroom on board the Viking Orion while the ship was docked in Sydney the morning of February the 3rd. The fire was extinguished within minutes by the ship's crew, and there were no injuries. Viking is fully investigating the incident, and early reports indicate the cause of the fire was electrical, possibly from a corded device. All scheduled operations on board the Viking Orion have continued, and we do not expect any disruption to the current voyage. So it is still under investigation, but like I said, they suspect that it was some type of corded device, so something was plugged into the crew's cabin and may be what caused a possible electrical fire. And this has to be a really scary situation, because I can't imagine being in my cruise cabin, relaxing, taking a nap, a shower, whatever, and suddenly you have a fire break out inside your cabin. You're trying to get out. They're trying to evacuate people from both the deck that you're on and the deck above, and that can be very scary. It can also be very dangerous. The fire could spread. People could panic during the evacuation, start pushing, shoving, knocking people over. So it always is a scary and dangerous situation anytime a fire breaks out on a cruise ship. But I also think that it goes to show the quality of the training that the crew receives. They were immediately in that cabin. The fire was put out within minutes by crew members, and this just goes to show how well they train for fires on board the ship, how seriously cruise ships take it. So I say kudos to the crew for getting in there, getting it extinguished, stopping it from spreading, and the cruise ship is able to continue on with just minor damage in that one cabin and no injuries on board the ship. No injuries to passengers, no injuries to crew members, and that's very, very important. And if it was a corded item, something that plugs into the electricity, Either, if you're not in your cabin or not using it, unplug it. Make sure it's in good working condition. Make sure it meets cruise ship specifications, just as an extra precaution to, help prevent anything happening like this again in the future. Not saying it was something that the passenger did. I do not know that. Everything is still under investigation, but just our part as cruise passengers, maybe if your power supply, is getting a little old, a little raggedy, something like that, maybe swap it out for a new one. Anything we can do as passengers to also help improve safety and prevent these kind of fires is always a good thing. All right, and that's gonna be our quick cruise news video for today. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It is free to do so. Helps our channel grow. Let you know anytime we put out a new video. Hope everyone out there is having a really great day, and like always, we will see you out on the high seas.